please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for every good and perfect gift you've given us. Father, we ask that you bless each and every child that's in our school system. Father God, help this board to make decisions that will best impact the children in our district. Father God, keep your hand on each and every school teacher who works hard to ensure that our children get a great education. Father God, keep your hand on every employee here and all of the staff workers. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Board Member Green. Time for our roll call. Okay. Okay, thank you. Let me get my meeting pulled up.
Yeah, they don't have to fill those out.
All right. We have some presentations. I'm going to call on Dr. Gorey to make those introductions.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd first like to invite Mr. Burden to the podium with our first presentation for tonight, and that is a presentation around the literacy program in our district. Mr. Burden.
Thank you, Dr. Gorey, President Nations, members of the board. Dr. Gorey had asked if the academic team could not provide you with an update on where we are as a district with our literacy initiative as we enter January, or we're entering February 2022. First, I'd like to introduce two key members of our team that work directly with this each and every day. First of all, Angela Henry and Dr. Bridget Green, who both work in our curriculum and teaching and learning department, who are just top-notch individuals who lead the very specifics. And I'm going to tell you now, if we get in the weeds of any of this, I'm going to turn to them, because they are certainly the ones, especially, that work directly with the schools. The State Department has instituted a literacy initiative. Dr. Brumley has pushed this almost since his very first day as state superintendent. And what he has said is simply this: if Louisiana does these four things, we're going to see growth in literacy. First of all, we need to make sure that schools are setting quality goals around literacy. If we're doing that, then it's important to us and we're measuring it. We also make sure that we're giving high-quality materials to teachers, and we give them time for interventions. We provide them with training, and lastly, we involve parents. So what we've tried to do with our Caddo plan is basically mirror the state's 4 pillars. And so what I'm going to do in only 5-6 minutes, don't let the packet of information that I gave you overwhelm you. I'm going to go quickly through this and provide you with a high-level overview. But I wanted you to have plenty of material in case you had questions from your constituency, or if you had further questions for any of us. You also will find that the Louisiana legislature were very busy in 2021. Matter of fact, they passed multiple pieces of legislation involving literacy. The one I'm going to really call your attention to first is Act 108. That is requiring all kindergarten through third grade teachers, including principals, administrators, instructional leadership teams, to receive at least 52 hours of training around the science of reading. And that's something that we have begun here in Caddo Parish, and we will explain as a part of our plan how we're going to meet. That's correct, Mr. Albritton, 52 hours between now and 2024.
Okay.
So we do have a period of time. But that's going to be all K-3 teachers of reading, math, science, and social studies, as well as all of their teams. Instead of giving you just Caddo Parish data, because this is not a Caddo Parish problem, this is a statewide, of course, literacy is a national problem. I provided for you the Step Forward presentation to the community that was presented in 2021 that gives you basically a snapshot of how is our area. They take our Caddo data as well as Bossier data as well as Webster data, and they give you a snapshot of where our students are. And I want to highlight a couple of areas for you. First of all, when you're looking at the Step Forward data in our area, one of the first things you have to look at is poverty. Because when we're talking about literacy and the challenges that our families face, you cannot have that conversation unless you're also looking at the literacy rates along with the poverty rate, because we know that there are so many students who are coming to us with the burdens of poverty. And you can see from age 5 and below, these are our children that before they even get to kindergarten, where are they in poverty? And you can see from 2010 to 2019 where our families are. Also, you can see kindergarten readiness. And this is an important graph to show you, because notice that this ends in 2020. And we all know what started in 2020. COVID. Because of that, look at the progression that the state, first of all, around 2017, started to decline in kindergarten readiness. But our work in this region actually started at a progression on the other end. And for the very first time, our area in northeast Louisiana, or northwest Louisiana, excuse me, we had exceeded the state rate in kindergarten readiness. But again, COVID now is upon us, and we're going to talk about why the need to specifically look at literacy now. Another interesting point that I wanted to give you is the third grade reading data. Of course, this comes from the LEAP test. This is, again, not just Caddo Parish. This is all of Shreveport, Bossier, and Minden. And you can see the progression that we had made. We began dropping in 2014, and the efforts beginning in 2016, we had increased, and we were basically mirroring the state's growth before COVID. So because of not only the need to ensure that we have a literate population, but what I really want to leave you with today is make sure that you understand we all need to have a great sense of urgency around the impact of COVID on our kids' ability to be literate and to be able to be mathematically literate. That is a huge concern, because we have children that now many times are deciding, I'm going to be a virtual learner. And we know the impact virtual learning has had on them the last 2 years. We also have many classrooms with unfilled positions because of the challenges of COVID. And so those students have had a great burden. Our literacy plan is built around really 3 things. Ensuring that we are equipping them, first of all, with the resources they need, that we are providing with the time that they need to implement the resources, and that we are training them. We are building upon their expertise. We began this model in 2021 with communicating it and training. Many of you visited our training last year. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teachers at LSU Shreveport all during the summer last year, training and preparing them for this launch. Then we began this year implementing, and of course, in the fall of 2022, we will continue to implement and monitor our progress. And then lastly, we will complete our implementation and evaluate our results at the end of 2025. Our focus areas are on resources and time and expertise. We are putting basically a fence around our schools to protect them from anything other than high-quality curriculum, lots of time with their teachers, and high-quality intervention. So we're not allowing outside groups to come in and provide ancillary programs. We're not trying to put them on the computer to learn. What we know is training teachers, providing them with curriculum, and giving them time is what will make the difference. What do we mean by Pillar 1, resources and time? Well, first of all, we want to make sure that they have high-quality curriculum and assessments. We also give them literacy coaches assigned to schools that have the greatest literacy needs. We also make sure that we are pulling those school leaders, and monthly we have a very in-depth, matter of fact, Dr. Green and her team has a very in-depth training with those school leaders each and every month, so that they are slowly going back to their building and reinforcing the work in our literacy plan each month with their professional learning communities. We also mandated adjustments of schedules because we know that teachers say to us often, we need more time. And so we required additional time in those grade bands of kindergarten and second grade all the way through third, fourth, as well as fifth grade to make sure we have more time for grade level instruction. And lastly, we also are looking at our time after school and during the summer. We're going to bring you a modified calendar request. We are presenting a draft of it to Dr. Gorey for his approval and to get his feedback. Once he approves that, staff will bring that to you, which is going to ask you for additional time this summer with students so that we can get a head start on their learning, specifically those that are struggling the most. I'm not going to give you go through all the details, but I want to just give you a snapshot. When we say resources and time and we have a plan, I want you to see that the plan has a district to-do list as well as what schools do too. So we have key actions for our teams here as well as key actions for school leaders and teachers. The next pillar is building expertise. So we give them resources, we give them time. The next thing we want to do is build their knowledge, because if we build their knowledge, especially this comes a lot from the Act 108 with at least 52 hours, we're going to give them that science of reading training, but look at what else we're providing. We have professional learning that includes best practices in reading instruction, the effective use of curriculum and assessment, how to use data to inform their decision making, and then how to use quality interventions to close those gaps. That training began, as I said, in the summer of 2021, and it continues. And everyone is being trained. This isn't something where we're only training a teacher. We're pulling everyone from the executive directors to the principals, instructional coordinators, anyone that's touching that school, we're ensuring they're getting training. And this is another example of our plan with the actions of how we're building expertise at the district level as well as for leaders and teachers. Last pillar is empowering families and community partnerships, because we know that what's important is the families must be able to be a part of this. And the one thing I want you to think about is this. Think about all of the resources we have in our community. We have lots of nonprofits who are wanting to help us. We have lots of federal funds like Title I dollars and special ed dollars and so on and so forth. But many times what we've done in the past is we've had a Title I camp for schools that go on in the summer. 2 weeks later, we've got another after-school camp that the school may run. Then we have another outside nonprofit that's coming in and they want to do a camp. And so what we've done is we've competed against each other to get the best teachers, to get the best time, and parents have also had to choose what they want. What we are saying now is everyone come to the table. Let's look at the child, let's look at the child's data, And let's pool our dollars, pool our resources, pool our efforts so that we are having one plan for a student. And that way we can have a child begin, let's say, a 3-week camp at their school, and they're touched by our district, they're touched by Title I, they're touched by SPED, they're touched by VOA, they're touched by any of our partners in the community who want to assist. And that's that coordinating the time, efforts, and resources. And there's an example of what our plan for family literacy in our community partners does. I want to just take this time to stop just a minute and highlight one board member. Dr. Benita Dozart has been pivotal with a lot of the requests that she's made. She's probably met Dr. Gorey with us how many times? 2 or 4. Yeah, several times, pushing the emphasis of this literacy and ensuring that we have a quality program. She's given us resources, she's given us ideas, and one of the things that I want to make sure and invite everyone to is we now have, because of some of the ideas that she brought to us, school teams that are reading at every single school and keeping up and logging what their reading logs. And what they're going to be able to do is we are going to be able to recognize kind of the winning schools and their teams on Sunday, May the 15th at Art Break, where we're now going to have literacy awards for schools at the elementary level. And so Dr. Dozart, Dr. Gorey asked if you could to mark that on your calendar and join us on the stage at the Convention Center on the 15th as we award those programs. And so I'll give you special information there, but I wanted to highlight her because she has shared certainly so much information that's helped build our program. So with that being said, Dr. Gorey and President Nations, that's the end of our presentation, but certainly we can answer any questions you may have.
Before we get into any questions, any explanatory detail you want to provide, Dr. Gorey?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay. Mr. Little.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Burton, for your presentation. There's some interesting data in here, and I appreciate all the strides that are being made. I see just at a macro level that poverty is increasing for every race listed here in this area. And in general terms, kindergarten readiness is slipping both locally and statewide, with the exception of the last year where we did have a very fortunate crossover. I'm wondering why we included Bossier City and Minden in the data. Those seem to be places that would probably improve our local scores. If we isolate just for Caddo Parish, how different would this be?
It would be worse.
Okay.
And I have that, and you already, we've presented some of that to you, and I can present only, I pulled the step forward data really for 2 reasons. One, because I wanted to emphasize this is not just a Caddo concern. This is something that impacts our entire region. The second of all, this is an external group providing the data to the community. So there's buy-in when you have that external evaluator producing the data, evaluating the data. And many of us are very familiar with Step Forward. Mm-hmm. I can certainly provide all of this information just for Caddo.
Yeah, I mean, in my view, that's the only educational system that we have any impact on, and it's always interesting to compare ourselves to our neighbors, but when we include our neighbors' data in ours.
And our plan is driven from our data,
okay,
not their data. I was setting that up only as just a preface to be able to talk about the importance of this throughout our entire region.
Okay.
Mr. Little,
thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rochelle.
I'm also going to go in there with Mr. Little. It would be nice to have ours just alone. With these extra 52 hours that the teachers and everybody else that's going to be involved in, this is going to be over a 2-year period that they get the 52 hours. Is that correct?
They can complete as much as they want within the first year.
Okay, and so how are they completing this?
Virtually.
Okay, so it's virtually, okay?
And it's through a vendor. Dr. Green or Ms. Henry, do you want to speak to the specifics of how there's going to be a vendor that actually provides that training, and so they can speak to the nuts and bolts of how that's going.
Okay, I'm not real sure how much of the nuts and bolts I want, but go ahead.
Yeah, it is online, and it's we're actually going through the training now. So it's set up by modules, they're online modules, and it just kind of walks them through, talks them through. There are videos, and they take little quizzes.
Okay, all
So
right,
they have-
so is this going to be in addition to all of their others that they do during the year? This is in addition. Well, I have to ask, so they're going to be putting in, and they can do this in any time frame. They can complete the 52 hours in a month if they can.
If
could
they
still
would
do-
like to,
they-
yes.
so-
They do
so-
have some communities of practice that, where we collaborate, yes.
Okay, so basically, they're working an extra week for all of this. Is there anything in our ESSER funds that could be used?
it is.
that-
We're paying them $1,000
Well, they've been paid.
upon completion.
Oh, okay,
yes.
all
Oh,
right,
yeah.
so they are being paid
Absolutely,
for
yeah.
their time to do this. Okay, that was important. Okay,
And I would have to say, do you want to tell them what the state encouraged us to give them?
sure.
We were encouraged.
Let me ask the question.
We were encouraged to give them a T-shirt and to call them literacy champions. And we came back home and said, that's not enough, we've got to pay them to do this. So we're one of the only districts actually that are paying our teachers for this training.
So many thoughts of comments are going through my head, and I'm not going to do it. I want to come back to the after-school and summer school programs. For the most part, the students that are attending I'm going to say summer school, not the after-school. I'm really going to focus on the summer school. Are those typically the ones that have failed?
In the past, we've had a remediation summer program, and we're still going to offer that. In addition to that, what we began last summer is an opportunity for all students
Okay, good, okay.
to be able to come back,
Yeah,
because
thought that we had started that.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I think that's in the big picture, I think there's, well, let me ask you this, is when you do the remediation, I guess it's really the remediation, it's exactly what it says, we're trying to get children caught up or up to level, or just getting them closer to level. So it's not really for those that are going to go, I still want my child to do better. These are actually going to be designed to get them, if they're not achieving at level, to help them get to level.
well, we're dealing with loss of credits, and we're dealing with loss of learning. And so our remediation program, our summer school in the past, has always been built around ensuring that a child has an opportunity. And by the way, you approved parents to now have that credit recovery at no cost to them.
Okay.
We cover that cost. So credit recovery will continue. We'll still have that, so if someone fails a course for whatever reason, we will ensure that we have that during the summer so they can graduate with their
Right.
peers on time. The learning loss piece is what we're offering for all schools,
Good.
all students everywhere, because we know no matter where you are, from being in a struggling student that may be 3 years behind, or a student that possibly could have been 3 years ahead, you still were impacted because of the last 2 to 3 years. And so we offer that to all, and we will continue to do that.
And I'm going to say something, I say this every time, I believe, is what are we going to do to really make sure that the parents and or guardians are aware of this? And I mean, it'd be nice if we could go knock on every single one of
Well,
the
I mean, the
doors.
parents, the principals and the teachers, they know how to communicate, and they are doing that. What we've found is too many times parents are having to choose. Do I do this model? Do I do this? So what we're trying to do now is wrap all of those efforts into a singular program, so parents don't have to choose, and they're still getting the benefit of all.
Okay, all right, so what are we doing here from this building, okay, from you and your other staff members to help the principals and those that are the captain of the ships of all these schools? What else are we doing to help?
Social media, website, J-calls, J-text, parent meetings face-to-face, Zoom meetings to be able to let them know, online registration, removing any barrier, like uniforms, ensuring there's no registration fees. We're providing breakfast, we're providing lunch. We're basically taking any obstacle in front of a parent and removing them so that the parent can have, the child can have the opportunity.
Have y'all designed a template, okay? Like all those bullets that you just said, and I'm sure there's others, so that each school can go, well, here's a template that we can work from.
Absolutely.
Because, for each one of them to try to have to design it, it's I'd rather something be, because one parent may get something from one school that says something totally different than the other school, and that would not be good. So templates and everything are being provided for them to work from?
Yes, and we're sitting with them now as they're building their plans and walking them through. We provide those templates, all the guidance needed, and if they have, and sometimes they're thinking of things we have not thought of, and so we walk them through those challenges.
Okay. Good. I think those are going to be the after-school programs and the summer school programs are really going to be the impetus that takes us and moves us. There's only so many hours in a day in a regular school year for things to happen, and that's
Exactly
hard.
right.
Yeah. Thank you. That was good.
Thank you, Mr. Rochelle. Mr. Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The terms that we're using now, before we were talking grade level mastery and so forth. Now we're talking literacy. How do we what are you looking for literacy? I mean, is there?
We're using screeners. It's still the same.
Okay.
You're using literacy screeners typically 3 times a year to be able to gauge a child's progress.
Okay.
The nice thing is the state identifies approved screeners. And so because of that, and we are moving hopefully to a unified screener. So no matter what district you are in Louisiana, you're using the same one. But the screeners have not changed.
Now, does that fall in the same thing that you talked about, learning loss? Is that in the same evaluation that you're evaluating the child for learning loss through the screeners?
You have literacy screeners, but then you also have content loss, learning loss that could be what I would have learned had I been able to attend school as much as I could have. So we know that there's content as well as foundational. And what's really, really key is the fact that we know if a child is not entering that 3rd grade reading, they're always going to be behind.
Right.
And so what we've got to do is make sure in the pre-K and the kindergarten and first, and especially kindergarten and first, we're building those foundational skills so they are able to decode, they are able to read, so that because they make the shift from learning to read to now reading to learn. So when we're talking about literacy, we're kind of talking about that learning to read part.
Learning to read.
Now, on the learning loss part, I'm behind because now I'm trying to read to learn, and I've lost that content.
Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albritton. Mr. Ryle.
Thank you, President Nation. Can you explain to me what a child reading on 3rd grade level, what their degree of literacy is? I know it's a broad question, but I mean, what are we expecting them to be able to read if they're reading on 3rd grade level when they get there?
Well, we're asking them not only to read and be able to comprehend, but we're also asking them to infer. Now, are you talking about what type of vocabulary would they be?
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Why don't I do this? Why don't I give examples and I can provide this?
Okay.
Because one of the things I wish we had time, if all of us in here could take a 4th grade leap test and see what we're asking 4th graders
Don't you dare.
to do in math and reading, you would run and go pat a teacher on the back right now.
Okay.
And it only gets worse. But I can give you examples of what that grade appropriate material is.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ryle. Dr. Dozart.
Thank you. He answered my question, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Trammell.
I should have taken it off. Mr. Rochelle covered the basis.
Okay. Dottie Bell.
Okay. What I wanted to ask you, we're doing, let's talk about the summer programs. lost learning and remediation. Have we ever, and this is just something to bring up that Dr. Gorey and may deal with money since we're talking about the 2-year money that's left. Have a lot of parents believe in the SPA after summer program, where they're there from 7:30 until 6 in the evening, okay? A lot of parents probably want their children to go to summer school, but then what am I going to do after summer school is over at 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock? And just something, have we thought about partnering with SPA? Because really and truly in my district, those kids are really at the Bill Cockrum, okay? Have we thought about, and I know I'm going to make a lot, partnering with SPA, those kids that actually need to go, and the parents see a problem that they need them somewhere after, after the school let out, that we partner with them and make sure those kids have a way that, maybe the bus will take them and drop them off at, take them to the SPA after that. I do think that way we can find some of the students that really need our help and need us to really kind of get them back. So that's just something to think about. We work with SPA because I think every recreation center is full during the summer. But some of those babies, because I've been there to volunteer to work with the reading program, they really do need that. And maybe if we can do that, then parents may say, okay, let me let you go to summer school, but the school board gonna make sure you get dropped off during the time. So have we ever thought about that? That way we can kind of.
Absolutely, and SPAR has been a great partner. We partnered with them in many activities in the past, so we can look further into that.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Ms. Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to say, first of all, my mind's in 4 different places because I'm trying to deal with 3 parents and then listen to you. Okay. But this would want to thank Dr. Dozart for all her help for putting whatever you guys had together. Now, what was it again?
What Dr. Dozart provided?
Yeah.
She probably, it's been at least 3 to 4 times where she has met with Dr. Gorey and myself.
I'm so proud of you, Dr. Dozart. I mean. Now, what is you said she's going to join you on stage?
All of you are invited.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. I didn't get an invitation.
And we will make sure, Ms. Green, that you do. But it is, of course, always the board members are invited to the Art Break celebration. But the one thing that we're adding, because of really a lot of what Dr. Dozart did, is a literacy award for each in school. So we're excited about that.
Good job, Dr. Dozart. Okay, so about with the I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Anything else, Mr. Burton?
No, sir. That's it.
Thank you so much for your presentation and all the information. Now it's time to establish our agenda for the meeting coming up in 2 weeks.
We have one other thing. I'm sorry, Mr. President. Okay. We have one other presentation.
Oh, okay.
And really, it's public comment. Caddo Parish Early Childhood Community Network Coordinator Funding Request for public comments. And this is a time, of course, where we receive public comments as it relates to our Caddo Child Care Network funding. Looks good, like no comments.
Okay, all right. We'll move right along then. Now it is time to establish our agenda for the... Oh, we do? Okay, Ms. Glover.
Okay, where did we get this information whereby we could have asked a question, if so we desired one needed to be asked? Caddo Early Childhood Community Network Coordinated Funding Request for, what is this about? I haven't seen any paperwork on it. So what is it, or help me out.
Dr. Gorey?
Right, I'll have staff to get it. Mr. Burton will see her.
Okay, okay. Just see Mr. Burton, and he'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
You can come to the mic.
Yep.
I would like to speak on the Caddo Parish literacy.
This is only on public.
Are we gonna? Are we not allowed to speak on that yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We're just on that particular agenda item. Ms. Pooh, sorry about that. All right. there's nothing else, we'll try again to establish our agenda for the February 15th, 2022 Caddo Parish School Board meeting, and we're going to ask Dr. Gorey to go over our agenda items.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I will read over our proposed agenda. Item 6.01, administrative contract renewals, and there is one there. Item 6.02 and item 6.03 currently do not have any information. Item 7.01, capital projects approvals. Well, look, I'm going to go on and read 6.02 and 6.03 in because there should be something there by your meeting. 6.02 is personnel leaves, certified and classified. Item 6.03, personnel resignations, that's certified and classified. Item 7.01, capital projects approval of bids. There is one, and that one was scheduled to be open today at 2 o'clock, so it is not attached yet. It is attached. Thank you. Item 8.01, property bus rental request. There is one there, and that's Northside Elementary School. Item 8.02, consideration to approve resolution recognizing the final form and execution of the bond purchase agreement in connection with the issuance and sale of $9,500,000 general obligation school bond series 2022 of the parish-wide school district of Caddo Parish, Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Item 8.03, begin the process of changing the name of Oak Park Micro Elementary School to Oak Park Bethune Elementary School. Item 13.01, request for settlement authorizing in the Tisha Ferguson versus Caddo Parish Schools, Office of Workman's Comp, claim number 3380762.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We'll go over the agenda items and see which ones need to be put on consent. 6.01. That's it? Okay. There being nothing on 6.02 and 6.03, I assume those can be put on consent as well.
Darla, are those, is there something there now? Ms. Wolfold? Okay, 6.03 is there now. It was not there this morning. Okay.
Even still, can we put that on consent?
You can put, yes, you can put them both on consent
Okay.
still.
All right. Our capital projects approval, any more information we can shed on that bid that was opened at 2 o'clock today before we put that on consent? Hang on. Go ahead.
In looking at the bid on this one, I'm just curious, this is not either for nor against, I'm just asking, is we had a budget amount of $1 million, and we went with alternate 1 and alternate 2, which took us about $300,000 over what we budgeted. What is alternate 1 and alternate 2 that are being done?
I'm going to ask Mr. White to come to the podium to provide that information.
Okay. I know that if he said to do it, it needed to be done. I'm just curious. You hear the trust I have in you, don't you? You do hear that.
No problem.
Did you catch
I had
that?
to question the same thing.
Okay.
First, to discuss the money for it. On the other 2 jobs that had been in this bond issuance for this year, we have $500,000 worth of savings. So I recommended going over the established budget of $1 million to reach out and get alternates 1 and 2. Alternates 1 and 2 will finish in its entirety the entire 2-story building at Donnie Bickham. So all of your major classrooms will be finished this year. Item number 3 was adding 2 air conditioners to the auditorium, which both sit on the stage. We could have reached out and recommended taking those also as alternates. However, that would leave us very little wiggle room on those 3 bond projects if any change orders need to come up, if something's not like it's shown on the plans. Okay. So we're recommending doing that, leaving about $210,000 in that overall of the combined budget of those 3 bond projects to encompass any change orders that may come up. And then if we've got savings from this year of the bond, they will roll over to the next year. We will have a phase 2 for Donnie Bickham, and that captures the back area, the gym, the auditorium, all those areas in the back half of the school.
Okay, okay. That answered the question. That was it.
Mr. Little?
I just want my colleagues on the board to know that I'm not taking this opportunity to ask about bird baseball. That would be out of line.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a suggestion to put 7.01 on consent? Okay, very good. We have, as Dr. Gorey mentioned, the North Caddo Elementary Middle School have a property bus request from them. Any consent on that? Okay. I'll not read all that again, but the resolution for the bond purchase agreement? Consent, very good. Begin the process, change the name of Oak Park Micro Society Elementary School to simply the Oak Park Bethune Elementary School. Consent on that? Very good. Ms. Green?
Yeah, so I've known, I've been knowing they're trying to get that changed, and that's for what, Mr. Dixon?
Hang on.
Mr. Dixon, I think.
You're on, Mr. Dixon.
You asked me this for what?
Yeah, so like, does this have to be done by a certain time, or you just want to go ahead with a process to go ahead and get it done?
I want to go ahead and get it done. I know they've been asking, and their request predates me. And I talked to a member of their alumni, Mr. Thomas, who's here today, and he made a request. And so I saw the information and investigated it, and as long as it didn't cost the school any money, I just saw no harm in honoring that request.
Yeah, well, I don't have a problem with it.
I'm going to call on Mr. Abrams to provide some clarification on that.
So that we're clear, it will not be changed at this next meeting. What it does is begin the process, and then actually the next full board meeting, we'd have to have a public hearing in accordance with the policy. Then it'll be voted on at the next meeting. Okay, so it is almost a 90-day process.
It'll be voted on in March, is what you're saying? Are you saying March?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Let me get you back on. Hang on.
No, wait a minute. Go ahead.
No, actually, we begin the process now, then there will have to be a
public comment
hearing at the next regular board meeting.
Which is February, correct?
No,
or is it
March.
the March one?
March.
That's the question I was asking.
We're voting on the process now on February, okay, in the February board meeting. Then the next month, there will be a public hearing at the regular meeting, which policy requires that you have people come in and make comments if they want to. Then you can vote at the next board meeting.
Oh, thank you for the clarification.
Ms. Green, you had a follow-up question?
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking these questions, I do personally understand what these people have gone through in trying to get a name change. One reason I'm asking Mr. Dixon is because I definitely don't want us to rush a process and we have to go back and do something over again.
Hang on, Mr. Dixon.
Yeah, well, I'm just throwing that out there. We have had mess-ups. I'm throwing that out there. But, Mr. Abrams, what we do is we treat this like we do a regular, like a change with, like we name a school after someone. So we're treating this as the same way.
Exactly, basically, but of course you don't have to as far as that.
Because it's been that name before, is that what you're saying?
No, you can actually change the name on any facility in accordance with your policy, but it requires a process.
So you're just treating it like you're changing it, like a new name change?
Right.
Okay, that's it. That's it. That's all the questions I have, Mr. President. Just want to make sure we do this in order. I've been through this before.
And I think that's an effort that we're doing, is to make sure we're above board.
Thank you, sir.
According to the process, so thank you for that question. Okay. Mr. Little.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may direct my inquiry to Mr. Dixon. I do have a question. Is the goal to have this a hybrid name, Oak Park Bethune?
Yes, basically.
And that's what the Alumni Association would prefer, or would it be okay to just be Bethune?
Well, no,
Okay.
There's an issue with that.
No, that we, if I may,
You're on.
certainly, there has been, and I want to go on record, this predates me too, this whole conversation that what happened here, but there has been a considerable amount of dialogue with the alumni, and really happy that we have finally come to an agreement as to something that the alumni supports as well as meets the needs of the district. District has always expressed concern in the respect that the Oak Park School does carry a National Blue Ribbon title, and for one thing, also with how a complete name change can reflect on funding for school because it is tied to the Oak Park name. So we do have clearance and know that the Oak Park Bethune campus will still receive those things that are associated with Oak Park, which are important.
So it'll be a hybrid name, Oak Park?
It's just Oak Park / Bethune Elementary School.
Okay. Thank you.
And if I might say so, it's also an effort to accomplish two things. One, clarity, not being too wordy, and secondly, to give proper due credit where credit is due, with the Bethune being mentioned as equal billing, so to speak. Dr. Benson, rather. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm coming to the board to inquire about 6.02. I think, again, it's a policy that the executive committee nor the board will act on any item that doesn't have supporting material. So, and to stay consistent, I think we need to maybe look at that, just to bring that to the attention of the board moving forward. Correct.
Okay.
There's no attachment. 6.0.
That's on 6.02. That's
Okay, so there's nothing on, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's just a standard placeholder.
Thank you. Ms. Bell.
Okay. Only thing I want to say that I am so glad, I mean, you can understand a lot if you read the backup documentation. And that's what I did, just to say I want to change. But if you read the backup documentation, you'll see why that alumni want that to happen. So I'm just saying that the backup documentation means a lot. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Dr. Dozart.
Thank you, President Nations. I just want to be clear, my understanding is that with the name changed to Oak Park Bethune Elementary, will Bethune still get recognition for their historical parts that they participated in?
Yes, ma'am. This is a way that it does not affect the Bethune historic status of the building.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Dr. Dozart. Ms. Trammell.
I am Mary Trammell, and I am a member of the 1970 graduating class of Eden Gardens Junior Senior High School. And we were running into the same deal with the changeover with becoming Caddo Middle Magnet. So I'm very pleased in knowing that we're going to work with this group to make sure that we keep their name as a part of their school, because we have so many schools that it didn't happen for.
Yes.
Okay, so that's wonderful. Yeah. Okay.
It's a worthy pursuit. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Trammell. Mr. Ryle.
Just want to bring to your attention, I think this policy is the same policy that deals with school colors and also mascots, if I'm not wrong. And we went through the same process when we named a new mascot for North Caddo. What was last year?
We did.
Same process. So, and also school colors, they want to change that, and we have to use the same thing. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ryle. Is this any different from when we named Huntington's Field after Tony
No different.
Rhodes?
Same process.
That's what I thought, just making sure. Okay, very good. All right. So, all that being said, can we put 8.03 on consent? Very good, very good. And then there's no admission repeals for February for item 13.01. We're in agreement, so that consent as well. Okay. Now, I would entertain a motion to approve the proposed agenda and the consent agenda for the February 15th, 2022 Caddo Parish School Board meeting. Anybody? Hit your mic, somebody.
It's got to be a bill.
Need to add the agenda item.
Oh, we have to add something.
You got to add that.
Yeah.
We got to add the insurance.
Yes, we do. So,
Well, Mr. Chairman.
let me get you on here, Mr. Dixon. Hang on a second. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, it's the recommendation.
Hang on. You were there, and then you were off.
8.04.
There you go. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, is this thing on?
Yes, it is.
It's a recommendation of the Insurance Committee to the board to amend the policy EGA under subhead and retired employees by adding a sentence, the number of years they participated in the health plan to the policy to make sure it covers the vesting schedule we approved a few months ago.
Okay. And that will be agenda item number
804.
804. Very good. Let's make sure we're on the same page there. And can we put that on consent?
It's Rochelle.
Mr. Rochelle, go ahead.
And also, I want to remind that the scale is going to be added and attached to it so that it will be there.
Yeah, that's clear.
Yes.
That's clear.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, Ms. Bell.
Okay. Move to approve the proposed agenda and consent agenda for the February 15, 2022 Caddo Parish School Board meeting as presented.
Second.
Made by Ms. Bell, seconded by Mr. Ryle. Time to vote on our agenda.
Loan to come up. What we doing? You want to come?
Okay. We're ready to publish the vote. That's all we have is, okay, unanimous? Okay, very good. It is now time to poll the audience. The Caddo Parish School Board welcomes your input and comments as we poll the audience regarding items that are the subject of the upcoming board meeting. If you would like to speak regarding an item that is the subject of an upcoming board meeting, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then make your remarks to the entire board. You do not need to fill out a card, which some of you already have, and that's fine. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. A time clock on the monitors and screens will help you to be aware of your time. When the time runs out, your time is up. It is the board's policy not to respond individually to members of the audience. When appropriate, the board may refer concerns to the staff to be addressed. As this is a public meeting, we ask you to refrain from referring to personnel by name or incident. In accordance with school board policy, derogatory statements about or directed at a school board member, any employee, or any other person shall not be allowed. That being said, we have a few folks that have filled out cards to speak to us, and the first one will be Brandy Pooh. And Brandy, did I pronounce that last name right?
It's Pugh.
Pugh.
Good try. It's okay. It's okay. My name is Brandy Pugh, and I live at 10987 Cattail Point, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. Ms. Bell, you had commented about the summer reading program, and we're worried about kids after school, after the summer school and what they are doing, and hopefully SPAR will help with that. But I wanted to raise awareness that there is now schools and policies going where they're doing tardy lockouts. How is that good for our children's literacy? There were over 100 children that were not allowed in their school classrooms this morning and that were running the streets and the hallways of Southwood High School. I think this policy within our schools, I know it happens at my daughter's middle school as well, and it's happened for the last 2 days, that is not helping literacy and education in our schools. This should not happen. I think it makes our children vulnerable because no teachers will answer their doors when you're tardy on these certain days. I don't know if this is a parish-wide lockdown that happens or if it's just other schools, but now that I know that Southwood has had it and Uri Drive Middle School, I feel like it's a Caddo Parish thing. That really concerns me. Crime, girls being locked out, being vulnerable, and not having help, and kids allowed to leave school campus during school hours and allowed to roam the streets. I think we need to do something about this, and this should be unacceptable. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. John Glover?
Mr. President.
Oh, certainly. Mr. Little?
Could I ask for a follow-up or a response from staff?
Yes, if staff, somebody would check into that, Mr. Burton will get on that immediately. So thank you for that suggestion, Mr. Little, and Mr. Burton as well. Now, Ms. Glover.
I'll repeat my name. I know y'all know me well. John Glover, 9100 Walker Road, apartment 121, Shreveport, 71118. You know, listening to the Caddo Parish literacy plan, we've heard that plan numerous of times in different ways, and yet we're still dealing with a plan. When does the plan come to fruition? When is it that what we put into place is left long enough where we will see productivity in a child actually learning how to read, or even, I think the words were, you all have literacy screeners. I'd love to know what those screeners are. Though I heard content loss, foundational skills, we're talking about children, kindergartners, that we're asking, and definitely we want our children to know those basic skills, your name, your address, your mom and dad's name, preferably your colors, and maybe some of your numbers in your alphabet. But I think we're trying to overwhelm children. And then to hear that children aren't learning because of an economic status of their parents, poverty. Does poverty really, really have a lot of emphasis on why a child doesn't teach? And if the child doesn't know he's in poverty, who's telling him? And then what are we saying when we tell them? You can't learn? This has to stop. You're going to either put the plan in place and leave it long enough for a child to be met with true resources that equals academic success. You can't keep changing this time and time again, people. You just can't. I don't care how many new plans you come up with. If the ones you had didn't work, and this one still looks just like it, only dressed up a bit, what are we actually saying we're doing? This has been going on for too long, and it has to stop. We talk about better. We've been hearing better for a long time. Better than what? Because if we're still behind the 8 ball of academic failure, we're not getting better. Thank you.
Okay. If I'm pronouncing this right, Brika Peoples?
Good afternoon, Brika Peoples, 2715 Lillian Street. As we talk about children literacy, let's talk about the kids that won't receive that wonderful opportunity and plan that Burton brought to the table. How can our children receive any type of literature when the children are being kicked out of school for laughing during the assembly? How can our children get an opportunity to receive any type of literature when they locked out the school, outside the school, for 10 minutes, risking their safety, with zero security outside, kids leaving the campus, walking the streets? How can the kids receive any type of literature when they getting good done at the school. Everyone on this horseshoe, everyone on this horseshoe can be replaced. One thing I know how to do is organize and mobilize the people. I don't know what the problem is. I've been dismissed. Every time I send messages, nobody responds about the issues. I don't know if I need to bring it up to the Bessie board, but I think I'm gonna have to. If I even gotta take a higher up, because I show everybody respect. And I feel like I deserve the same thing, even when I come to y'all. Mr. Nation, I need to talk to you after this meeting. I'm upset. I'm highly upset. I don't know if anyone knows, but my nephew was killed leaving school. For me to see my nephew on the ground for 2 hours, and they told the coach what's about to happen. I'm upset. I do too much for this community. I do too much for this to happen. And I'm hurt because nobody has not done anything. I want that policy taken, whatever this policy is, because I've been getting so many phone calls about Southwood, it don't make any sense. Please contact me, Mr. Nation, because we're not Caddo at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Little.
I would offer the same response,
Yes.
that this be referred
We'll
to.
definitely we'll reach
staff,
out to you,
please.
Ms. Peoples, no doubt. Any other comment? I don't have any other cards. Okay. It's time for board member announcements, and I'm going to jump the gun and make one before anybody else has an opportunity to. Lest I forget or not give proper credit, today is Christine Tharp's birthday. Am I mistaken on that? And she is, okay. I didn't realize she had slept out on us, but we wish her a happy birthday regardless. Birthdays are special in my book, so that being said, any other board member announcements? Please put your mic on, or I can do it for you. Ms. Bell, if I can find you. There you go. Well, it just doesn't like me either, apparently.
Okay,
There you
I'd
go.
like to say that we have another person's birthday in a couple of days, and that's Miss Mary Trammell, her birthday. So I'd like to say happy birthday from all of us to Mary Trammell, please.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like I said, birthdays are special. Did I say your name, Mr. Dixon?
I knew Dottie was going to say.
Okay, all right. Anyone else, any other announcements to be had? With that being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, go ahead. Ms. Trammell?
I can't,
You're on.
Oh, I was just saying tomorrow, look out, our athletes, the football players will be making their signings tomorrow at their local schools.
Yes, it is.
So just watch the airways and you'll see who will be going to the different universities in the fall. Okay?
Yes, National Signing Day is tomorrow.
Which is cool.
Ms. Bell?
Okay, move to adjourn the February 1st, 2022 Caddo Parish School Board Executive Committee Work Session.
And I'll second. All those in favor? Vote accordingly. Thank you all very much.